All right, good evening again, everyone. All two people that are here so far this evening. Welcome to back to the National Weather Service office. I'm Donald Jones. This is Montra Lockwood. And over the next little while, we're going to talk a little bit about the latest on the freezing rain event that we're expecting later on this evening and tonight. Um, Again, like I said last night, we want to start by saying this is a bit of a new technology. We're still kind of trying to get our heads around it a little bit, but hopefully we've worked out a few kinks. One of the big kinks that we've worked out since yesterday was actually we can make our PowerPoint go full screen now, which apparently was kind of an issue yesterday. So hopefully that'll improve visibility on being able to see things a little bit better. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started here with just a briefing here on what's going on and what we're expecting to go on throughout the rest of the evening. We'll start by taking a look at the current conditions across the area this evening. Temperatures are basically in the mid to upper 30s across most of the area, with lower 30s up towards Alexandria and Rapides Parish. And actually, we just got a report just within the last 5 minutes or so that the Alexandria observing station has actually begun to report a little bit in the way of ice up that way. So that's kind of on schedule with what we were expecting this evening. And as that colder air works its way further down to the south later on tonight, we'll see that freezing rain line extend further south anywhere that does see precipitation. So we're going to take a look now at what you're seeing here on the left-hand side are our forecast temperatures as we go through the night, beginning at midnight tonight. On the right-hand side is the designation between freezing rain and liquid rain. So at midnight, we're going to be looking at temperatures obviously well below freezing up towards the north. The freezing line basically extends from central Hardin County through most of Newton and Jasper counties and most of Beauregard Parish as well. And then it kind of splits Allen and Evangeline and just clips the northern tip of St. Landry Parish here by midnight. Now, add on top of that, we're looking at a 40 to 50% chance of probability of precipitation. So just because you're in this, the criteria are met for freezing rain doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to see freezing rain. You still have to have, showers in the area to get freezing rain to fall there. And we're only looking at a 40 to 50% chance. So it's kind of going to be a bit hit or miss throughout the night. Some areas will see it, some areas won't. Some areas will see multiple events kind of on and off through the night. As we move forward to about 6 a.m., most of the area is going to be below freezing, basically down right to the I-10 corridor. So, and this does include right along the Lake Charles area. So any showers and not thunderstorms, but any showers that develop in this area will have the potential to fall as freezing rain. Rain chances during the early morning hours are a little bit lower, as you can note there, about 30 to 40%, but still we'll have those scattered showers around, and any that do develop in that freezing rain area will be of the frozen variety. Temperatures are going to warm up pretty quickly after sunrise, and by 9 a.m. we expect that freezing line to be on the retreat back up to the north there. Still right around central Beauregard, kind of splitting that line, Beauregard and Allen, and then back pretty much almost out of Hardin County, and again, kind of splitting Jasper and Newton by that point as well. And by 12 o'clock, everything's back to liquid precipitation if there's anything left out there, which by that point, there's really only going to be about a 20 or 30% chance of rain. And in actuality, temperatures will probably rise above freezing before that point. Looking at some of the latest computer models, they're indicating temperatures rising back above freezing probably by about 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. So anything beyond that in the freezing range should begin to come to an end, and any accumulation that has developed overnight should quickly begin to drip off there and turn back into liquid. All right, so we do have a freezing rain advisory in effect for the area. This is began at 6 p.m., so it's now currently in effect for most of the area, with the exception now, this graphic is a little bit outdated here. Calcasieu, Jeff Davis, and Acadia parishes, that freezing rain advisory is not expected to go into effect until midnight tonight. So a little bit later for them, although we are still expecting that freezing rain advisory. But the advisory is in effect for the rest of the little areas highlighted in blue there. And a freezing rain advisory means that we are expecting ice accumulation that is basically a non-zero. Anything greater than 0, but less than 1/4 of an inch. And no areas are expected to see 1/4 of an inch of rain or of ice. We're going to be well below that threshold. So here is a look at the forecast accumulation over the next 12 hours or so. And as would be kind of makes sense here, the greater accumulations are expected to be further to the north, with basically 1/10 to maybe 1/15 of an inch of precipitation across parts of Vernon and Rapides and Avoyelles parishes, and then getting progressively lower as we go further south. Along the I-10 corridor, we're actually not anticipating anything as far as accumulation goes. That 1/100th of an inch of precipitation in Lafayette is probably overly generous. I don't think we're going to see any accumulation in Lafayette. And even if we do see 1/100th of an inch of accumulation, that's really not enough to cause any impacts or result in any road closures or anything like that. So I think everything from the I-10 corridor south is probably going to be in pretty good shape. We'll get into a little more details. We'll do our county by county breakdown here in just a little while. But it's the areas north of I-10 that could see a little bit more in the way of accumulation, then especially up towards, you can see those dark purples there in Vernon, Rapides, Avoyelles, and even northern, extreme northern Jasper and Newton counties. Those are the areas that'll be of greatest concern. This is a look at our school closure summary. This is courtesy of Louisiana GOSEP. This was given out to us just about an hour or so ago, so it should be fairly up to date. The only difference is you can kind of see my little hand-drawn green there down in Vermilion Parish. Just recently, Vermilion Parish announced that their schools will be closed tomorrow, and these are all for tomorrow. Pretty much all of the parishes in our area, with the exception of Vernon Parish, public schools will be closed tomorrow, and you can see that list breakdown on the right there. And in addition to the public school closures, we have several colleges closed. McNeese is closed here in Lake Charles. What else we got on this list here?
Okay, we don't have a map for the Texas schools, but we do have a list here. Jasper ISD has a 10 a.m. start. Newton ISD starts at 10 a.m. Looks like most of these are going to be just late starts for the schools in Texas. Kirbyville ISD, Combsville ISD, Brookland ISD, Spurgeon ISD, and Warren ISD all have start times right around 10 a.m. It looks like Spurgeon is going to start about 9:30 a.m. And the Tyler Chester ISD also is expected to have a late start at 10 a.m.
We've also got a couple of colleges. LSU Eunice is going to be closed tomorrow. Sowella is going to be closed Monday night, or tonight, I should say, and Tuesday. They will resume classes at 4:25 on Tuesday, so it's not the whole day Tuesday, just the morning and early afternoon there. LSU Alexandria is also closed, and Louisiana College is closed tomorrow. This is just a look at the rest of the parishes that weren't in that first graphic. Rapide, St. Landry, both are closed. St. Martin, just St. Bernard Catholic and St. Martin is closed. Public schools are open. And Vernon Parish schools, like I said earlier, are kind of the outlier there. They remain open tomorrow. All right, now we're going to get into our county by county impacts here a little bit. Tyler County is going to get a pretty good brushing of this. At least that's the current anticipation. We're expecting that freezing rain threat to actually be already ongoing as temperatures are approaching the freezing mark there. And that'll continue through about 10 a.m. on Tuesday. And like we mentioned before, that freezing rain advisory is also in effect. That's until noon Tuesday. But like I said, I venture to say that most of the temperatures should be well above freezing by that point. So I expect that freezing rain will probably be coming to an end here by 9 or 10 tomorrow morning. Ice accumulations up to 1/10 of an inch across the northern half of the county, and a little bit less further south, only about 5/100ths of an inch, I should say. And those sporadic power outages, again, we're not expecting much in the way of significant power outages anywhere across the area, but we could have those sporadic power outages if we get any ice accumulation on some dead or dying tree branches that just happen to fall on power lines. But again, widespread outages not expected. Ice accumulation could result in a few road closures across Tyler County, especially those bridges and overpasses, which tend to freeze much more readily than roads that are in contact with the ground. But as you go further south, we're not expecting significant road closures in the southern half of the county. And as we mentioned, we will have a few school closure, or a few schools that'll have a late start Tuesday morning in Tyler County. We mentioned Colmsneil and Tyler, with Colmsneil ISD starting at 10 a.m. or I said Tyler, I meant Spurger, and Spurger starting at 9:30 a.m.
Warren and Chester.
That's right. Warren is at 10 a.m. and Chester is also at 10 a.m. Other than that, that's all the school delays that we have for Tyler County at this point. But again, you want to make sure you check local media outlets early in the morning tomorrow morning, as those may increase or decrease depending on what we see here overnight. All right, moving on to Jasper County. It's going to be very similar as we move across the northern counties here. The freezing rain threat is already ongoing and will continue pretty much throughout the night for the northern half, with the threat coming to an end about 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Ice accumulations up to 1/10 of an inch. This is basically going to be from Jasper, the town of Jasper, northward to the county line, with 5/100 of an inch expected further south, basically from Magnolia Springs, and then no ice accumulation for Buna and Evadale. Again, with the possible sporadic power outages, that's going to be basically, again, Jasper northward, with basically no power outages anticipated further south, as we're just not going to have any ice accumulation further south. Road closures, again, Jasper northward, bridges and overpasses being first, with road closures not expected further south. And for Jasper, we've got 2 late starts for schools. Like we said, it's going to be the Kirbyville ISD starting at 10 a.m. and Brooklyn ISD also at 10 a.m. Moving on to Newton County, again with the freezing rain threat beginning, or it's already begun, and continuing basically through about 10 a.m. tomorrow. Freezing rain advisory is in effect until noon. Accumulations of up to 1/10 of an inch, basically from Burkeville northward. I spelled that wrong, forgive me. I'll let that know. An ice accumulation of 5/100 of an inch or less expected across central and southern parts of the county, basically from Newton southward. So basically from Newton southward, we're not going to expect a whole lot in the way of significant impacts. The power outages and road closures will be basically from Newton northward. Hardin County, moving a little further south, so the freezing rain threat's not expected to begin until about 10 p.m., but once it does, it'll continue through about 10 a.m. Tuesday. The freezing rain advisory is in effect through noon Tuesday, but we're not expecting any ice accumulation across Hardin County because, again, we're further south, and any freezing rain that does fall is just not going to be have enough time to develop with the temperatures remaining warmer than further to the north. We're also, and thusly, we're not expecting power outages or impacts to travel, and at this time, we have no reports of any school closures across Hardin County. For Jefferson County, we're going to have just a very brief window for freezing rain, basically from about 3 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Tuesday. No accumulations expected across Jefferson County, and therefore we haven't even issued the freezing rain advisory because, like I said, we're not expecting accumulations. And so there should not be any issues with power outages, no impacts to travel, and we have no reports of any school closings across Jefferson County. Orange County is pretty much going to be in the same boat with that brief period for freezing rain, 3 a.m. to 9 a.m., and then turning back to liquid very quickly thereafter. No accumulation expected, and therefore no significant impacts. And we have no reports of school closures. That should say Orange County. I wrote this up really fast. Forgive me. All right.
I guess I'll read some of the ones for Louisiana now. For Vernon Parish, again, this is one of the areas up north. So the freezing rain threat is actually ongoing now. We are starting to see a few reports of freezing rain just north of the parish, and I wouldn't be surprised to see some actually occurring in the parish probably here within the next hour or so. That freezing rain threat will continue at least through 10 a.m. tomorrow, with the freezing rain advisory still in effect through noon. Any accumulations could be up to about 1/1500 of an inch across the northern half of the parish. Southern parts of the parish looks like maybe about 5/100 of an inch. There could be some sporadic power outages, mainly in those areas where you see the heavier accumulations. Widespread power outages are not expected. Most of the power outages will likely be from Fort Polk northward. Any ice accumulation could result in road closures, especially from Fort Polk northward. Especially the bridges and overpasses will be vulnerable. And we don't really expect any road closures across the southern half of the parish. And at this point in time, Vernon Parish schools are currently open for Tuesday. For Rapides Parish, a similar situation. The freezing rain threat, like we mentioned, Alexandria, the reporting station there already had some ice reported. And that's going to continue until about midway through tomorrow morning around 10 a.m. with the freezing rain advisory continuing through noon. Ice accumulation of up to 1,500 of an inch across the northern half of the parish. That will include Alexandria. And ice accumulations across the southern half of the parish, like around Glenmora, would be around 500 of an inch. Sporadic power outages may occur, but widespread power outages are not expected. Most likely this would occur around Alexandria and points northward. Any ice accumulation could result in road closures, especially from Alexandria northward, and bridges and overpasses will be especially vulnerable. So you'll need to use a lot of caution when driving on those bridges tomorrow morning. Road closures will be unlikely in the southern half of the parish where there's lower ice amounts. And all Rapides Parish public schools have been closed for Tuesday. Of Wales Parish, the freezing rain threat is ongoing again until about 10 a.m. tomorrow. The freezing rain advisory will be in effect through noon. We keep it out until noon, mainly just to cover, any chance that, things don't clear quite as quickly as we expect it to. So that's why we keep it out a little bit longer than maybe the expected threat is actually going to be. Ice accumulations of up to 1,500 of an inch across the northern half of the parish. That would be Marksville northward. From Cottonport southward, ice accumulations may be up to about 500 of an inch. Sporadic power outages may occur, but widespread power outages are not expected. The power outages, again, are more likely from Marksville northward. Ice accumulation could result in some road closures, especially from Marksville northward, and bridges and overpasses will be especially vulnerable. Across the southern half of the parish, we don't anticipate much in the way of road closures at all, but Wales Parish schools have been closed for Tuesday. For Beauregard Parish, the freezing rain threat actually will be around 10 o'clock tonight and continue through about 10 a.m. Tuesday, with the freezing rain advisory continuing through noon. Don't expect real heavy accumulations of ice, but we could see accumulations up to about 500 of an inch across the entire parish, with a few sporadic power outages. Again, we wouldn't expect a whole lot of power outages, but as Donald mentioned, any ice accumulating on any dead branches could potentially cause a power outage, here and there, some isolated power outages. Ice accumulations could result in some road closures across the parish, with bridges and overpasses especially vulnerable. Beauregard Parish schools also have been closed on Tuesday. Across Allen Parish, similar situation to Beauregard. Again, the freezing rain threat is expected around mid-evening, around 9 or 10 o'clock tonight, continuing through 10 a.m. Tuesday, with the freezing rain advisory in effect through noon. Ice accumulations up to 500 of an inch will be possible, again, with the sporadic power outages expected and nothing as far as widespread power outages. Ice accumulations could result in a few road closures across the parish, and again, that's going to be bridges and overpasses, which you'll need to be especially cautious with. Allen Parish schools are expected to be closed tomorrow. Evangeline Parish impact, similarly to Beauregard and Allen. The freezing rain threat again beginning around mid-evening and continuing through tomorrow, with the freezing rain advisory in effect. Ice accumulations up to 500 of an inch are expected across the entire parish, and a few sporadic power outages may occur. Any ice accumulation could result in road closures, but again, it's going to be the bridges and overpasses, which you'll need to look out for. And Evangeline Parish public schools have also been closed Tuesday. St. Landry Parish, moving further to the east, again, freezing rain threat by mid-evening and continuing through mid-morning tomorrow. The freezing rain advisory will be in effect through noon, with ice accumulations up to around 500 of an inch across the northern parts of the parish. That would be mainly Washington and Laveau northward. Accumulations of around 1/100th of an inch, or even no accumulations in some locations, as expected across southern parts of the parish. That'd be Opelousas, Eunice, and Sunset. Sporadic power outages may occur across the northern parts of the parish. Do not expect anything across the southern part of the parish, really. Ice accumulations could result in road closures across northern parts of the parish from Washington northward, and that would mainly be the bridges and overpasses. That will be especially vulnerable. And St. Landry Parish Public Schools have been closed for Tuesday.
All right, jumping back to the southwest here into Calcasieu Parish. As we move further south, the freezing threat gets later and later as those temperatures are going to take a little bit longer to cool off. But we expect the freezing threat to begin in Calcasieu Parish right around midnight tonight and continue through about 10 a.m. Tuesday. The freezing rain advisory also, as we mentioned earlier, will begin right at midnight and continue through noon on Tuesday. We're not expecting much in the way of ice accumulation, though, in Calcasieu Parish. Maybe 1/100th of an inch up towards DeQuincy, but really nothing in the Lake Charles area itself. And power outages aren't expected anywhere, nor do we expect any impacts to travel. However, Calcasieu Parish Public Schools have been closed on Tuesday, as has McNeese State University. Moving to the east to Jeff Davis Parish, the freezing rain threat again beginning around midnight and continuing through 10 a.m. on Tuesday. Freezing rain advisory also to begin at midnight. Very little ice accumulation in Jeff Davis Parish as well. If you're going to see it anywhere, it's going to be in the Topsy Pine Island area northward, and no accumulation expected south of there. No power outages, impacts to travel are expected, but Jeff Davis Parish Public Schools have been closed as well. Acadia Parish, freezing rain again at midnight tonight through 10 a.m. on Tuesday. The advisory also begins at midnight tonight. Very little ice accumulation. Again, if it does accumulate, it'll be across extreme northern portions of the parish, but no accumulation basically from Iota southward. And no power outages or impacts to travel are expected. However, Acadia Parish Public Schools are closed as well. Lafayette, freezing rain is going to be even later, actually not beginning till about 4 a.m. on Tuesday morning and continuing possibly as late as 10 a.m., but we're not expecting any ice accumulation in Lafayette Parish or in the city of Lafayette, and therefore no freezing rain advisory is going to be in effect for Lafayette Parish. And obviously with no accumulation, we're not expecting any power outages or impacts to travel, but still just out of an abundance of caution, Lafayette Parish Public Schools have been closed on Tuesday. Not expecting any freezing rain at all across St. Martin Parish, and public schools in St. Martin Parish are open on Tuesday. Same to be said for Iberia Parish, as well as St. Mary Parish. No freezing rain expected in those areas. Vermilion Parish will also have public schools open with no freezing rain expected. We're not expecting any freezing rain in Cameron Parish as well, but just out of an abundance of caution, Cameron Parish has declared that schools tomorrow will be closed. All right, and I think that wraps us up for our parish by parish look here. Let me see if I can pull you back in here. Come back. Hey, hi everybody. All right, welcome back to the National Weather Service office. At this point, we're going to take a look at some of your questions here. I don't have any written down tonight, so I'm going to have to go straight to the Facebook and Twitter accounts to see what we have here. Let's see. Yeah, a few people said thank you. Y'all are very welcome. We're happy to do this for you. Anything to increase awareness. Let's see. Yeah, we've got a report of drizzle in Beaumont with a temperature of 34 degrees. And he's going to let us know if we got freezing rain. That's always good. Yeah, we definitely encourage any, if you do see or experience freezing rain at any time tonight, if you could let us know via our Facebook or Twitter sites, that helps us out. Let us know. Lets us know where the biggest threats are, and then we can forward that information on to emergency managers as well for the decisions that they have to make.
I saw some ice in Jasper. Looks like there's been a report of some ice in Jasper, but we'll need that. Jasper is actually one of those northern areas where we do expect at least a little bit of accumulation of ice. Most of it will probably happen overnight tonight. So, I mean, if you're venturing out this evening, use caution. I wouldn't encourage it, but it's actually going to be worse overnight and into Tuesday morning. That's the biggest impacts, when the biggest impacts will be occurring.
Okay. We got this question earlier, and we thought this was an excellent question, and we wanted to discuss it here. The question was, is it a common misconception that it has to be 32 degrees in order for it to be snow, to have snow or ice? In the case of ice, you generally do have to have it at or below freezing at the surface in order to get that ice accumulation, because if it's above that, then any ice that falls will quickly melt as soon as it hits anything that's above 32 degrees. But snow, on the other hand, has the advantage of it doesn't necessarily have to be at 32 degrees to fall, because it takes time for snow to melt as it's falling through the atmosphere. So even though you have temperatures that might be 34, 35, I've seen it as high as 37 degrees right here at the surface, just off the surface, temperatures are right at freezing. So just since the snowflakes might only be falling through 100 or 200 feet of air that's actually above freezing, there's not enough time for that snow to melt. Now, it'll be a very wet, sticky type snow, but you can get snow at the surface with temperatures that are above freezing.
Ice pellets as well, too. You can probably see some of those.
Sleet pellets.
They can't fully melt when they're falling through a very shallow, cold, or shallow, warm layer there near the surface.
Let's see, we've got a report. No, it's not in our area, it's in Jackson. Let's see. Got any other questions for us? We're being quiet. Entertain them.
Well, you know, I could sing and dance, but I really don't think that'd be a good idea.
Oh, well, no. That's it.
Basically, you can see from yesterday, our forecast hasn't changed too significantly. We still think that the greatest impacts are going to be across central Louisiana into, the lakes area of eastern Texas. We did bring the freezing rain advisory a little bit further south, just on the potential that there might be a little bit of accumulation. Most accumulation, if there was to be any, would occur probably along the very northern fringes of the parishes along I-10. We wouldn't expect them right in Lake Charles or not Lafayette, but Lake Charles, Jennings, Orange. Not really anticipating any kind of accumulation in those locations, and mainly along the northern areas of the parishes and the counties.
Yeah, and the only other question that we really got was about electricity outages, and that's going to be pretty much going to follow those accumulation lines pretty regularly. Anywhere that sees basically above about 5/100ths of an inch of accumulation, we'll have the potential to see a few sporadic power outages. But again, nothing widespread. This isn't going to be nothing like you've seen up in the Northeast where people are without power for days or weeks at a time. This would be an instance where maybe a dead or dying tree branch falls on a power line and knocks out powers to a couple of neighborhoods. But those are usually pretty easy to repair, and they're usually fixed within just a couple of hours. So if your power does go out overnight tonight or early tomorrow morning, chances are it'll only be out for a couple of hours. And even that will probably be just very, very sporadic. The vast majority of the area should remain electrified through the night. All right, well, we appreciate everyone joining us this evening. We're going to go ahead and wrap up here from the National Weather Service office, and make sure you stay safe, even if we're not expecting a whole lot of accumulation. Again, this is a forecast, so we could wind up seeing more or less in varying areas, especially with the way these very light showers kind of set up. Some areas might see showers all night long, while some areas might only see a drizzle for 5 minutes or so. So be very cautious when driving, especially to work tomorrow morning or for the schools that are open. Be very careful heading to school tomorrow morning until about 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, and that's when we expect those temperatures to rise back above freezing, and everything we should be in the clear after that. But thank you for joining us, and we will see you again soon.